Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Can Do Links to Learning. This is the Saskatchewan webinar, but wherever you are watching from, welcome, welcome. My name is Michelle Nevadomi. I am currently in Amiskwaci, Waskayagan, Treaty 6 territory, Edmonton. We have a beautiful day outside, so I hope wherever you are, the sun is shining, that it's not too cold out there in this winter season. Thank you for joining us. We have a really fascinating presentation this afternoon. We're going to hear all about IDEaS, and that's an acronym for Innovation for Defense Excellence and Security. Since its launch in April 2018, IDEaS has been posting challenges for the Canadian innovation community. So really calling the problem solvers, the innovators, the creative thinkers to come to the table. The various elements of IDEaS, which include competitive projects, contests, innovation networks, sandboxes, and test drive, are going to be used to present these challenges to you. Now, if you don't know what that is, hold on. Our speaker today, Sarah, will fill us in, will inform us, and we'll walk away with some better understanding. So the program is looking for your solutions to support the development of defense and security capabilities. So IDEaS fosters open innovation to provide creative thinkers with the structure and support to encourage solutions, which will assist in solving some of Canada's toughest defense and security challenges. So we're in for a treat in the next 30 to 40 minutes as we take in this good information, this good knowledge. I'm super honored to be here with my co-MC, Aubrey Ann, and she's going to introduce our guest speaker this afternoon.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm so excited to be here. I hope that everyone can hear me properly because, you know, the struggles of living just anywhere with this Wi-Fi connectivity, but, you know, we're getting through it. That's the virtual world. But yes, I'm so excited to introduce Sarah Blair, who's with us today. So Miss Blair is presently the Manager of Outreach and Engagement for the Innovation for IDEaS program. IDEaS provides the financial support to Canadian organizations to develop solutions for Canada's toughest defense and security challenges, as Michelle said. And so Sarah began her public service career at Natural Resources Canada, or NRCan, as some of us may know it by, and has a history of supporting the implementation and delivery of several high-profile and complex government programs over the past 14 years. And so with that, in 2010, she was selected to work on the delivery of the Pulp and Paper Green Transformation Program, which, if you don't know, is a $1 billion transfer payment program that provided Canadian pulp and paper mills with the access to funding for capital investments that make demonstrable environmental improvements to their facilities. I know that sounded a little wordy, but let me tell you, that is impressive stuff right there. And she also delivered several other NRCan innovation programs, including the Forest Innovation Program, as well as the Investment in Forestry Industry Transformation Program that funded the first in-kind technologies in the areas of bioenergy, biomaterials, biochemicals, and next generation building products at the Canadian forest industry facilities. I'm just saying that bio alone impresses me, and I'm so excited for this. But in early 2018, Sarah joined DND to support the implementation, launch, and delivery of NDN's $1.6 billion IDEaS program. So I don't know about you, but I feel like we are in the presence of some very brilliant people, and I'm so excited to welcome them to the stage. So please, I'd give a virtual at home round of applause and welcome to Sarah. And as well, we have Daniel here if he ever wants to pop in and introduce himself as well.
Wow, that was, you guys, like, I feel like you've done this before. That was a lovely introduction to both the program and to myself. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so I have been working with funding programs for basically my entire government career. So I'm really excited to present to everyone today the IDEaS program and just said to teach everyone, what options are out there and see if there's an opportunity for you to help contribute and solve some of Canada's toughest defense and security challenges. So I'm going to pull up our PowerPoint. I'm just going to do my share screen here and we'll get started. All right. Can you guys see this? Hopefully. All right. So IDEaS, yes, it is an acronym. It's a great acronym for Innovation for Defense Excellence and Security Program. It's essentially a access to innovation program for the Canadian Armed Forces and the Department of National Defense. I believe, Michelle, you'd mentioned it was launched. It was officially launched back in fall of 2017 in our sort of defense policy, and then we launched our first challenges in 2018. The great thing about the IDEaS program is it's open to all Canadian innovators. So big industry, academia, small and medium-sized enterprises, not-for-profits, and I have to say we all Canadians do respond to our call for proposals. And we're really happy to say that approximately, 55% of our funding does go to small and medium-sized enterprises, as well as about 20% to academia and the rest distributed between large industry, not-for-profit, and even some individuals did receive funding. So the program is fully based on challenges. What are challenges? The problems that our various partners are having. My partners are DND CAF, like Air Force, Navy, the Army, CANSOFCOM. So those are all basically IDEaS clients. And we're here to help try to solve or to help find them solutions. We try to be a very transparent program. We try to put everything up on our website, all our challenges, our processes, information about our funding, and we try to do as many presentations such as this and information sessions across Canada as often as possible. The best way to hear about our challenges still remains our mailing list. That's my call to action at the very beginning of this presentation for you to go to our website once I'm done and to sign up for our distribution list so that you are one of the first to hear about new challenges, launches, and funding opportunities. So I'm just gonna see if I can hide my, here we go. So as I mentioned, this was announced in the our new defense policy. It was covered really well in that document. And basically, we were given $1.6 billion over 20 years to deliver this innovation mandate. So that ends up being about approximately $84 million per year. And our goal is to have as many call for proposals as possible because we want as many solutions as possible. We don't know the solution. So we're not going to go out there and tell you exactly what we need. We're going to give broad challenges and ask for as many solutions as possible. So, why does IDEaS exist? So even though Department of National Defense and our Canadian Armed Forces, they already have their sort of own research department called DRDC, Defense Research Development Canada. They're still not, they don't have the capacity to address the complex and constantly evolving, nature of conflicts and crises that require, that requires that S&T address potential threats and risks. So space, cyberspace, terrorism, technology, emerging disease, pandemics. So with all these things, we do need to have the ability to stay ahead of innovation. So what I'm saying is IDEaS is really an, you know, it's an approach for us to build upon our sort of Defense Research Development Canada expertise and tap into the ingenuity and the great ideas and potential that already resides in Canada. So our program is basically built on 3 pillars. I'm not going to read this, but I'll kind of summarize it. So these pillars are to, you know, connect, develop, and evaluate. So what we do is we do, so first to connect, we do outreach. We need to ensure that as many Canadian innovators as possible know about the IDEaS program, so we can increase the number of potential solutions. And we can, as I mentioned earlier, we continuously conduct outreach activities. We have more than 5,000 people on our distribution list, and that's growing, that grows daily. So the next pillar is sort of developing. And so that now that we have the attention of innovators, we need to develop tools to keep them interested and to fund their potential solutions. And IDEaS has a number of tools to do this. We call them sort of funding elements. And finally, we have to be able to evaluate. And sort of this is the last pillar of IDEaS. So we have to make it possible to showcase these solutions from our innovators, to basically DND and CAF, which is Canadian Armed Forces. So this is I'm probably going to be on this slide for a little bit of time. This is actually like a very, very important slide, and this explains the machine of IDEaS. So I'll start off with, like, there's 2 really important things here. On the top left, you have DND and CAF priorities. So the source of our challenges that IDEaS releases comes from our DND and CAF stakeholders. It is what they have identified that's important to them. And if you now on the bottom right, you'll see defense capability. So IDEaS success is based on the changes in defense capabilities that we will generate for the CAF. So it's not the number of contracts we signed, you know, it's not the number of calls for proposals or the amount of money we invest. At the end of the day, it's what we bring back to CAF and DND. Now, for this to actually occur, we have, as I mentioned before, we have many, many funding elements. So the way it works is that when DND and CAF has a priority, we go through a thing called ideation, which is just basically a refinement of the challenge. So we can figure out how we're going to post this challenge to our innovator community, to Canadians. You know, how are we going to fund it? Because, like I said, we have several sort of elements that allow us to advance solutions depending on what sort of technology level they're at, or technology readiness level they're at. So I'll go quickly through them. I'm going to kind of not necessarily go in order here, but I'm going to start with innovation networks. So innovation networks, I would say, is sort of the start of IDEaS. So what it is it's a mechanism where we provide $1.5 million to encourage collaboration and build networks of expertise that advances R&D in support of Canada's current and future sort of innovation challenges. So this is something where we ask organizations led by a Canadian university to come together, collaborate, and to advance research on a topic that where we need to increase that S&T capacity in Canada. Next, I'm going to jump over to the left, competitive projects. This is the one that people have heard about the most. This is the bulk of our challenges gets released for competitive projects. And basically, it's to advance sort of applied R&D. So we provide up to $1.2 million in phased development funding to build and progress technology forward. And at the end, we hope to have some promising solutions that can be selected to advance to say further on to like a demonstration or a testing phase. It's called competitive projects because we don't fund just one solution, we fund many solutions. So when the challenge is released, we'll fund maybe 10 possible solutions where we can provide up to $200,000 for the first 6 months of R&D activity. At the end of that 6 months, we will look at the results of what those 10 solutions, potential solutions said they were going to do. And we may select, say, 4 or 5 of them to further advance their R&D. And we'll provide an additional up to $1 million for another year to progress that solution. So I really like Innovation Networks is really addressing the start, in competitive projects is really sort of the meat, I would say, of IDEaS. So this is where we, like you said, we take on a volume of projects, a volume of solutions, and they kind of go through a pipeline where we hope that at the end of that phase procurement, they might be able to progress to either, say, a sandbox or a test drive. Contest in the middle, you'll see SRL 6 to 7. That's sometimes that's solution readiness level, could also be TRL, technology readiness level 6 to 7. It does sort of sit on its own. And basically what contest is, it sits between applied R&D and demonstration. And we basically, we're pitting the best solutions against each other to solve complex issues for like cash prizes. So it's a really neat opportunity. We don't launch it as often as we do competitive projects, but it's something where we can really sort of get innovators again to sort of compete against each other. But at the end, there's a big sort of grand prize for the solution that may have, say, like who's been able to achieve the most or has the best sort of technical performance at the end. And finally, at the bottom, we have sandbox and test drive. Sandboxes is playing in your sandbox. It's demonstration. So what we ask innovators to do, it's a call for proposal where we ask you to demonstrate your solutions in front of military experts in like a real world environment to show off its capabilities. We don't provide a lot of funding with Sandbox. What we do cover is travel costs. But what the real benefit of Sandbox is that companies, individuals, whomever applies has the opportunity to show their technology, demo it to CAF, DND, and other safety and security experts, and get real, real feedback on how to potentially better their product so that it could be used in sort of in a defense capability. And as you can guess, that feedback itself is very, very valuable. Finally, we have test drive. Test drive is the last sort of funding element we have before commercialization. So it's a pre-commercialization element. And what we do is that it's kind of the final stage of our IDEaS innovative journey where we may be able to take a solution potentially from competitive projects or maybe even from Sandbox or something else. And it allows us to acquire that solution, so buy it, so that DND and CAF can assess sort of the readiness of the product in a real-world environment for a military audience. So sometimes people call it a buy and try. We call it a test drive. So we're not going to, it allows the military to get their hands on a potential solution without having to do a huge investment in implementation. And sometimes, as I said, competitive projects, we might pull at the end some competitive projects and give them a test drive contract, or we might sometimes launch just individual test drives where we know the technology is there at a pre-commercial level. And so we would like to acquire and try it out before potentially before DND or the Canadian Armed Forces makes a commitment to it. The great thing about IDEaS, the tool of IDEaS for the Department of National Defense, is that although this part is outside of IDEaS, DND has the capability to continue with one of these solutions through their own procurement with an option of up to $20 million. So I'm not sure if the audience is aware, but procurement at Department of National Defense is quite a sometimes long and a very heavy process. So IDEaS is a tool for like a procurement tool, an access to innovation tool for our department to be possibly able to procure a solution very, very quickly if it meets their needs. And finally, I'm going to sort of on the left here, we have mobility and integrators. I'm not going to talk too much about mobility because that is an element that we haven't really fully developed yet. We were working on it pre-COVID, sort of like an interchange of subject matter experts, scientists, et cetera. But we sort of had to put a pause on that, and we're really focusing on sort of our program of work. The second thing we have is integrators. And integrators is basically a link between our innovators and the defense and security community. So when we fund a project, no one's working in a silo. They have an integrator, which is usually a defense scientist or a member of our Canadian Armed Forces, who is there to be sort of a project liaison so that our innovators have someone to talk to or get potential feedback during this process. So COVID-19, the pandemic that we're still in at the moment. So obviously it did have an impact on the program. It did slow us down for a period of time. We really focused on paying our current projects, like paying our current innovators for what we had at that time. And we did put a pause on our calls for proposals. And then throughout then we decided to sort of we found an opportunity to participate in the battle against COVID using sort of the tools that IDEaS has available. So we did do some direct funding of technologies. We worked with NRC, Health Canada, SASK, and we identified several sort of promising technologies that we funded directly related to like advanced ventilators, new test kits, et cetera. We also launched 4 competitive projects that were related to COVID-19. And the topics ranged from, addressing moral trauma, data analysis to support decision-making, and the decontamination of vehicles and uniforms. So we did we released those in the summertime. We did receive a ton of proposals, and we selected, I believe, about 50 solutions to fund under those 4 challenge topics. And so we've been signing agreements, and that work is currently underway. So what's new? What's upcoming for IDEaS? So again, we were catching up on the business that was postponed due to COVID-19. We had to put a pause on our 4th call for proposals. That was for 7 challenges. We did get to finally release those in December. And we received lots of proposals, and evaluations are currently underway. In an upcoming slide, I think I'll be able to show you a picture of those 7 challenges to get an idea of what kind of things we launch. Our contest, like I said, we don't launch many of them. So right now we have the one called a pop-up city, which is looking for an integrated waste, energy, and water management system for relocatable tents, like camps, essentially. Looking for a better way, more energy efficient way that's better for the environment to manage those resources. If Canadian Armed Forces are stationed somewhere up in the north or more remote regions. It's It's a multiple round contest where we advance winners in each round. And right now we closed round 2 in September, and now we're in the process of selecting potential winning teams who will basically present their solution to a Dragon's Den-like panel. They're going to pitch it, and we're going to select 3 of them to receive up to $1.5 million each to develop a prototype of this system. So also following sort of as I said right here, the completion of sort of competitive projects, become component 1A, 1B, that's the $200,000 and the $1 million components, we were able to award our first test drive. So we had a project that received $7.5 million to basically, we've acquired their solution, and we're going to be testing it with one of our DND and CAF partners. And finally, the last thing we're going to be doing is we're working on developing competitive projects at the classified level. Currently, everything that comes to IDEaS is unclassified, but obviously, considering defense and security, some of these solutions may involve classified information. So we're going to be working on developing a classified stream for IDEaS. This is where I sort of, tout our successes. So since the launch of IDEaS, we've launched 57 challenges. I believe 52 of them have been competitive projects, and the rest have been for the other elements. We have signed contracts, agreements, and so committed over $145 million to date. We continue with a national engagement strategy every year. We do have 2 upcoming challenges. We do have a innovation network, so that, again, that's sort of like the research cluster collaboration with universities. That one of those is going to be launched related to the Arctic in the coming months. And then we also will be launching a test drive. Right now, the advanced notice of procurement has been issued, so you can find out more information on that on our website. We have funded more than 380 projects, as well as provided many grants for our contest round winners as they progress through the contest rounds. And as I mentioned, we have more than 5,000 people, innovators, on our distribution list. If you're not on our distribution list, help us increase those numbers, please. And since we do have a little bit more time, I am going to give a little example of to understand what it's like to go through IDEaS and what it may potentially look like. So in our very first year, in our very first call for proposals for competitive projects, we launched a call for persistent maritime surveillance. If you'd like to know the background of that challenge, we still have all the challenge statements up on our website if you want to read more about that. But just to summarize, for when we launched that call, we received 49 proposals, and we decided to fund 16 potential solutions. So that's the phase 1, where they can receive up to $200,000 for the first 6 months of work. There we go. So these are the 16 projects that we funded. Also listed on our website. At the end of, so basically at the end of that 6 months project timeline, we evaluated those 16 projects, and we funded, we chose to fund 4 of them for up to $1 million to further advance their research over a year's time. So these are projects that are currently underway that our Canadian Armed Force members and DND employees sort of identified as projects they wanted IDEaS to continue to invest in. I am going to skip this one, but it's a similar thing. So basically, another challenge that we launched where we received 35 proposals, and we decided to accept 7 of them. So these ones are presently underway, and at the end, we're going to be evaluating these projects and deciding which ones will get the $1 million contract. So I do have a quick, it sort of goes into a little bit more detail on what each of the funding elements do. But it's sort of a summary as like competitive projects. I've said it's the one that has the meat of ideas, the largest volume. We've had 5 call for proposals and 52 challenges. As you can see, we funded hundreds of contracts and many contribution agreements for phase 1. And then so far we've funded 82 contracts, so that's the $1 million one for phase 2, and there's still many more coming as we get into CFP3 and CFP4, and also eventually the COVID-19 ones as well. So these are the challenges that we released in CFP4. It did close on December 10th, but it'll give you an idea on the types of challenges we launch. We try to come up with sort of good names for them to make them a little bit more interesting and engaging. And I would like to emphasize that to anyone who joins our mailing list, or if you don't necessarily see a project or a challenge here that you may potentially have a solution, it's just a matter of time. So again, we work on volume. So every time we release challenges, there may be an opportunity that your solution could be applied in one of these defense contexts. Innovation networks, again, those are sort of I call it research clusters that are led by a Canadian university. So we launched 2. The first one was advanced materials. The second one was trust and autonomous systems. And we funded 6 micro networks, we call them, for each of those topics. So each one got approximately $1.5 million to conduct research in these areas over the next 3 years. And the next topic is going to be Arctic and austere operations. I think this is also very relevant to sort of, I call the prairie provinces, because I have talked to many, I guess, universities and research center that are in the prairie provinces, and a lot of their priorities, their research topics are related to Arctic, is related to Arctic research. So we do hope that this upcoming innovation network, we may be able to also tap into some of the research that's being done in our wonderful prairie provinces, middle of Canada. So this is just a quick summary of the innovation networks that we funded. As you can see on the right-hand side, they're all led by a Canadian university, but on these networks, there's not just academia. There's also, other private institutions, like either not-for-profits or for-profit companies. So for this one, it's just about it being led by a Canadian university, but we're looking to really encourage collaboration. Sandbox, which I talked about, is like our demo element. We've launched 2 sandboxes to date. The first one happened in Suffield, Alberta, back in 2019, and it was about detecting and defeating drones. So we went out to Alberta. We threw up a bunch of drones, and companies were able to demonstrate their technology on how to detect and take them down, which was very, very cool. I unfortunately was not there, would have loved to be, but some of my colleagues were. We also re-released Sandbox for corrosion detection on ships. So that's sort of the detection of corrosion, so that we can get ahead of it for repairs or whatnot. And it was launched right before COVID-19, and we decided to postpone it. And even though we had accepted applicants, we decided to relaunch it, because with so much time being passed, we thought it would be only fair that there might be other companies out there who maybe missed that Sandbox launch, or maybe have pivoted and may be able to contribute to this. It says it's now open until December 15th. That's a typo. It closed on December 15th, and we're currently sort of evaluating those at this time. Contest is that relocatable temporary camp contest. for an integrated energy, water, and waste management system for deployed camps. So whoever wins this will essentially get almost, I think, just over $3 million throughout the process. So round 3 is where we provide the $1.5 million for them to develop a prototype. We're going to award 3 of those, and whoever wins is going to get a really large, I believe, I don't have it on here, but I believe it's like $1 million prize just for being the winner of this contest. We're also really looking forward to launching contests in the near future. And just to give you an idea, so this is one type of contest, but as an example, like a hackathon might be another type of contest that IDEaS might launch in the upcoming years. And finally, test drive, the buy and try, where we acquire the solution and we evaluate it. So we've awarded the first one, and actually we're in the process of awarding a second one, as well as launching a completely open test drive, which is on our website at this moment. We call it Green Heat, and it's about finding energy solutions that can be used for to help green older buildings. And back to what I said at the very beginning, IDEaS was created as a funding program for everyone in Canada. So academia, not-for-profit, provincial, municipal organizations, for-profit companies. We funded individuals, and then there have been times when we've also provided money when there's international sort of S&T collaborators. It's really important that whenever a call for proposal is launched, just to read the applicant guide, because depending on the element, some of those there might be sort of restrictions depending on that, but in general, there's something for everyone in IDEaS. And then one of the most important questions that I receive is about intellectual property. Like all standard Government of Canada contract conditions, innovators, you get to own the IP. We do not take the IP away from anyone. We do not own it at the end. What DND does receive, or the Crown does receive, is a license to use or have used for its own purpose, but cannot exploit it commercially. Basically, this means that if there's a really, really incredible solution that comes out of IDEaS, and for some reason, an innovator does not want to continue their sort of journey with the Department of National Defense, or does not want to, get into arrangement where we could potentially purchase a solution, we may look at developing it for our own purposes, but never for a commercial, never to exploit it commercially. And that's it. This is my call to action to anyone who's watching and listening. If you have questions, please email our DND address here. Please visit the website and sign up for our mailing address. And you can also find us on Twitter if you do a search for Defense IDEaS. And I'm open if anyone has any questions.
I can ask a question.
Yes.
I love that. That was a very awesome presentation. I was like listening to it and I was just blown away the whole time by like all the different things that you do. Like Michelle said before this webinar started, she was like, I didn't even know we had something like this in Canada, and I definitely didn't. And so I'm blown away. I'm like, wow. I kind of asked the question on, I know you said that you kind of put teams into like a Dragon's Den type thing. Kind of what things are you expecting to like see out of this, and like what kind of backgrounds do the people have that typically enter this? Like, just because it's just so interesting to me. I'm not there yet personally, but it's very cool.
So the Dragon's Den thing, like we call it the pitch event, but I don't think we're allowed to use Dragon's Den, is so it's specific for contest, right? So we wanted to make it, the purpose of contest was to invite innovators from each one of those technical domains, right? So either water, waste, or energy. And we asked them to each, provide a solution for your particular technical domain. And then we reviewed those and we invited, I believe it was 56 together for a partnering event. And we said, that's great. You have a solution for water, you have a solution for waste. We want you guys to network and we want integrated proposals. So we want you to partner with each other. And it was up to them to find their own partners. We didn't dictate or anything like that. To partner with each other and to submit an integrated proposal. So I believe we received 12 integrated proposals in September. We're really close to announcing how many will progress to the pitch event. We're not there yet, so it's not on our website, so I'm not allowed to say. But we, each one of those people would receive, each one of those teams receives $50,000 as a grant, just because obviously as a prize and for the level of effort that has brought them to this point. So at each phase or each round, they did receive some money. So whoever we select to come to our Dragon's Den will each have received $50,000. Our Dragon's Den members will essentially just be, subject matter experts, CAF, DND, and they'll have the integrated proposals well in advance. But what we're giving these innovator teams their moment to shine, where they basically pitch, so sell, why they should be one of the 3 that receives $1.5 million to build their demo. And then at the end of that demo, I believe I think the winner receives $2 million. I said $1 million, but I believe it's $2 million. So whoever creates the best prototype will receive $2 million. So it's going to be it's funny with this contest, like it's not quick because obviously it's going to take a long time to build these. They do have a timeline. I believe it's a year to build their demonstration, but it'll be a pretty exciting outcome. And during this time, we hope in this upcoming year in 2021, we'll also be able to start launching maybe another contest. So stay tuned.
That is so amazing. My mind's like blown. I can see Michelle's mind blowing as you explain this too. It's so amazing. And you know what? I always believe in like collaboration is like the most important thing, like moving forward, just as anybody. It's like collaboration. Like when you bring so many minds together, you can create amazing change, amazing ideas, innovation, everything. So that stuck out to me. Everything that IDEaS does is so cool and so impressive. And I'm glad that I now know about it, but that competition, that's very cool, and I'm very impressed by that. Like, blew my mind throughout your presentation. So, amazing job to the IDEaS team on that.
Thank you. And like I said, and going back to competitive projects, so that is sort of the one that, like, if you visit our website or if you already heard about IDEaS, that's the one that is kind of the most prominent, because that one does work on volume, right? Like we have funded. I think it's, I want to say like over like 360 competitive projects, right? So there were either the first phase, which gets 200,000, or they were selected for the second phase, which gets $1 million. But that one really works on volume, and even just, if you go to the website and you read the challenges, we cover sort of like a diverse, amount of topics between, as things addressing like advanced materials, to, I'm trying, like, we have one about, transitioning. So it had to do with mental health, actually transitioning military to civilian life, and solutions to help with that transition. We also had, in our very first call for proposals, related to looking for strategies on how to create a representation in the Canadian Armed Forces to make that women made up 25% of Canadian Forces by 2025, right? Which is an HR solution, right? It's an outreach solution. So, you know, we're not just looking at defense companies, and it's a struggle for me, like, you know, managing outreach and engagement, because yes, we target a lot of the traditional defense sectors, you know, the companies and things like that. But a lot of our solutions, you know, they're not necessarily coming from those people. You know, they're people that work like, you know, HR solutions, CRM solutions, healthcare solutions. I always talk about, you know, we target more places like agriculture, because the technology that agriculture is using right now is incredible, even in terms of, you know, like drone technology and things like that. And there's those companies potentially have a solution for defense. They could get funding, you know, they could find another, they could expand their offerings, because there's a place for them to help, basically safety and security.
Wow, that's all I can say. Michelle, look at you. That's amazing. I love that you hit every area.
Yeah. And I second that. Wow. You can tell, Sarah, that you're really, you know what you're talking about. I think you kind of have to know what you're talking about, but you're also, it sounds to me like you're pretty passionate about this. When you were highlighting the success stories or what you've been doing, you know, this has only been a couple of years now, and you folks have covered a lot of ground. So very inspirational. Thank you for sharing what you do, what the IDEaS project is all about. Super amazing stuff. And it's really, I feel like it's really tapping into the brilliant minds of the Canadians in our country, right? So awesome, awesome, really inspired. Thank you so much for lending your time, for being here, for sharing. We honor, you know, what you're doing. So thank you, thank you. So as we close, we just want to take a moment and thank Creator just for another day. A gift, you know, every day is an opportunity to grow. I certainly have grown. I've certainly have learned this afternoon. So we just want to give a shout out to the Creator. May we continue to walk in a good way, that we honor ourselves, we honor the circle, we honor this land that has been given to us, the waters, the animals, the plants, and all our relations, all our relatives. May we just take a moment and take that deep breath in and acknowledge the gift of this life, to be able to live in this kind of country, that we are surrounded by, you know, innovators, creative thinkers, problem solvers. So we just need to just take a moment to just appreciate all the gifts that are around us. So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for being here, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Bye. Thank you.